right, folks. Back with another episode of AgWarriors, and today I have somebody on that I just met today. Somebody that was recommended in, that they have a pretty cool story. So I'm excited about this. Usually I have a little bit more background information, but we're going to see where this goes. This is Doug Applegate. Now, how do I say your company name?
Praxidyn.
Praxidyn.
So the name Praxidyn comes from two Greek words. So when we were naming our company, we thought Greek words would be kind of acceptable in the world.
Yeah.
There was another company that had a problem with their name when they went into Europe. Connotation was bad. So our older son thought praxis, which means putting an idea or theory into practice, would be a good portion of the name. And then dyne is a measure of power. And so practical ideas, powerful solutions is our tagline. Wow.
That's kind of cool. So you use two Greek words to make your name. That's different. I like AC/DC, and I thought thunderstruck means to be shocked or awed. So I guess each name has a different story. But
sure.
I want to learn about you and how you got here, because you only started this a few years ago. But where did you grow up? Where are you from? Tell me about that.
Well, I grew up on a farm, and I always liked to build things. So from a very young age, I was welding, and I liked metalworking. But and I farmed, helped my dad. I was like 12 years old, and he was on board of directors for the power cooperative, been gone a lot. And he said at a very young age, he says, "You take care of the farm like I'm not coming home. And give me a signature at the bank so I could write a check."
At 12?
14.
14.
Yeah.
Wow.
I couldn't drive to town and buy things, but Mom would take me, So it's take care of the farm, while I'm gone. So.
And where was he going?
So he's on board of directors of our local REC, but from that he was on Western Iowa on a transmission distribution type thing. NIPCO was the name of it. But he advanced all the way through to Basin Electric, which is a major power generation company out of Bismarck, North Dakota. He was on banking company that banks for a lot of other, like the power cooperatives for one, but Cooperative Finance Corporation, and that was the 20th largest lending institution in the United States at the time he was on the board.
And he farmed, or actually you farmed.
Both, yes, yeah. But no, he was on president of the board for Dakota Gasification, so it was a kind of a coal gasification plant. And it was the only one that was ever profitable. And so that was up in the North Dakota area as well. And so that whole power thing, I learned a lot about power in this country through that. And so it's kind of interesting because of all the solar and windmills that have come in. Those are not 100% online power.
Right.
So you have to have backup power for those. And so traditionally we've been coal-fired as 100% uptime type plants in electricity. Well, when the windmills come on, they want to run those when they're take tax advantages and utilize that. And
solar farming everywhere.
Right.
Yeah.
So what happens when it's cloudy or the wind stops blowing? You got to have backup, and backup's got to come online fast. So coal-fired plants take about 8 hours to heat them up to produce electricity. So they had to put in gas turbines. So a lot of direct-fired gas turbines will come online in about 15 minutes. So we were generating with one power plant. Now we have 3 modes of generating the same power. So overhead costs go up. So wonder why the electricity costs have gone up so much.
So your father was involved in all of that.
Yeah.
And you're at home going to school, I'm assuming.
Yeah. So in I started feeding the cattle when I was 12 years old, and taking care of livestock. And
where was the farm?
Where Oakland is our hometown, which is just east of Omaha and Council Bluffs.
Okay.
But
so that would be western Iowa.
Correct.
Almost right on the border then.
Right. We're like 25 miles from Omaha.
Okay.
Yeah. So just a short run in there for grain hauling and things. But so grew up on the farm. Wasn't too active in any kind of sports. My sport was snow skiing and snowmobiling. You know, that's what I enjoyed. But yeah, when I turned 16, I started going to the community college and taking classes. And I started farming when I was 16. So I would go and take night classes like tool and die and welding. And then later...
What made you do that?
I just had the interest. I wanted to. And so...
You didn't have enough school during the day at high school?
Apparently
you needed to go?
This stuff was more fun at night, you know. But
did you like school?
Yeah.
Yeah? I hated school.
It was easy for me. So I didn't have to try maybe real hard. Like, you know, I was taking senior English and I didn't want to write a paper, you know, write a research paper or something, you know, I didn't want to do that. So for some reason I didn't take chemistry when I was a junior. So I said, can I take chemistry? Halfway through the year, start chemistry. And they said, well, no. And I said, well, finally I talked them into let me take the semester test with everybody else. So the night before I sat down and read the chemistry book and went in and took the test with them and got a B something probably. And
without doing any of the classes?
No, I spent about 3 hours, read the book, and I was good.
Sounds like our school system.
Yeah. Anyway, so, you know, I got to do that. But no, I kept going to our local community college. I ended up doing an associate's degree for farm management there, but I kept going. And so I spent a couple years on computer design, so I learned how to build a computer. What year was that? Well, 86 processors were kind of a new thing at the time, so like the beginning of the IBM PCs. Yeah, so learned how to...
I didn't want to date you, but I was thinking when you said that, I was like, man, that must have been like right at the beginning.
It was. They had a mainframe there at the college, but we never did anything on that. So I learned how to, you know, basically do embedded coding and things of that nature. So I was always more interested in microcontrollers and things of that nature. So when it came time to do MixMate, I helped specify the chips that went into that. So...
It's funny how you don't know, or it always strikes me as I'm having these conversations, that you don't know what's going to prepare you for whatever it is you're doing in the future, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh man, like I know how to do these chips because I was programming computers in 1986.
Right, yeah. So that was a fun thing for me to go through that. And back in the 80s, there were quite a few ideas that I want, you know, kind of the entrepreneurial spirit, but things I wanted to do, but maybe the software or time or maybe the chips and things weren't really there to do some of the ideas. So MixMate came along later, but no, it was, you know. And then
were you farming the whole time too?
Yeah. So I was... And then I did like business law and accounting and some of those things. And one time I did 15 credit hours in night classes, and those kind of start, you know, just ahead of harvest.
Yep.
That was a lot during harvest, doing accounting and business law and economics.
And having cattle.
Well, we didn't have cattle at the time. We may have had hogs. I don't remember for sure. But yeah.
It sounds like you might have a little ADD and just need to keep yourself busy.
Maybe.
Yeah. So when you know, as you were growing up, did you just decide once you were done with school that you were just going to farm full time, or what happened after these night classes and you taken all this knowledge? What'd you do then? You
know, I started farming when I was 16. Ran my first farm. Dad and I bought a brand new 1086 together. So that was, you know, I didn't have a car, but I had a tractor, you know, so it wasn't so handy for dates.
Right. Pick you up on my tractor.
Right, yeah. So a date might go visit the tractor.
Right.
You know, anyway, but whatever. Anyhow,
that's awesome.
That's kind of how I started, you know, and then once I started business, I really I kind of wanted to go to Iowa State and get a degree there, but I was already started in business, so do you stop?
Probably not. Yeah.
So that's where the community college came in. And if I wouldn't have been a farmer, I would have probably been an engineer, because that would have been my other choice of occupation, but kind of get to do both now.
I was just going to say, well, every farmer is an engineer in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
So what?
My wife's laughing over here.
Well, I hope she's laughing at you and not me.
Yeah.
But
with.
She's not laughing at us. She's laughing with us. So, what was your first? I'm sure you're growing the farm, but what was the first business that you did outside of farming?
I never worked for anybody else before. I started out farming. Of course, farming, when you rent ground, you're kind of working for that landowner.
Right.
But I didn't ever have an 8-to-5 or an off-the-farm job.
You've never had one?
I never have had one.
In your whole life?
Never.
Wow, you'd be a terrible employee.
Maybe a terrible boss. I don't know.
No, I wouldn't think you'd be a terrible boss. I would think that if you've never worked for somebody, that'd be really hard to...
It would be hard for me to do that.
Yeah.
It really would.
That's really cool, though. I don't think there's many people in this world that can say that.
No, there wouldn't be. And I don't know that I would want to go work for somebody now. I really wouldn't, I don't think.
I can't see it working well for you or them.
Yeah.
I'm not hiring you. Well, maybe. So when did you decide that you're still farming now, aren't you?
We are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And on some of the same ground?
Yeah. Family ground and some rented ground and our own ground, and yeah. So as our sons were growing up, they became active in 4-H and then FFA a little later, but we started teaching our sons welding when they're 8 or 9 years old. And in grade school, they were starting to program microcontrollers, so we were teaching them that. And as they grew up, the projects got more complex. And when Brent was a freshman in college, he started out with AST, so Ag System Technology.
Yep.
His heart was really engineering. Our sons both are ag engineers, educated at Iowa State. But as they were young, they started in 4-H, and we started teaching them to weld at a very early age. And I like metalworking, so our shop was really equipped for that. Anyway, so we were teaching them very young age on doing this stuff. And
did you send them to school or did you homeschool them?
They went to school.
They went to school?
Homeschool started at the beginning of the summer, though.
Right, yeah. Right, once they were done school, that's when the real school started?
Right, that's right. The real experience, yeah.
It just struck me as you said, you had them welding at 8 or 9. I was like, man, that sounds almost like a homeschool where you were...
Yeah, well, it's kind of because of the 4-H projects and then later FFA projects. So they always had things they wanted to get done for the fair. And they started, I had as they got a little older anyway, I had kind of a list of ideas that, things we could use on the farm that maybe would turn into a project for them. And kind of the one, they kept getting more difficult. They would get a different skill with different projects. So they got a big variety of things that they learned. And I remember Luke was in maybe 6th grade. For a science fair project, he did a pig pen washer. So a little model. So he had this little robot that would drive around and do kind of like a Roomba did, only the idea was to do it as the power washing that dirty job on the farm, And so he did that, and he took that to the fair, and he put it down on the floor, and the thing ran around. It went up over by the judge's foot and turned around and went back, and it was like they were pretty impressed with that, And
in 6th grade?
Yeah.
Did you help him with it, or is it all him?
Pretty much him.
Wow.
Point him in the direction and let him run, And so one of the early things that he did, and then later, of course, the projects getting bigger. And when Brent was a freshman in college, he started taking AST, and he Brent and Luke built a seed tender for the farm, which kind of turned into what mixed meat is today. But the seed tender was back when we had to do refuge for the corn. So we had to plant, we planted our GMO corn, but we had to have a portion of the field that was non-GMO. And so you were always planting a little bit of a different variety.
Yeah.
And so our seed tender holds 4 boxes of seed. Brent built the machine, but Luke did the computer. So he was a sophomore in high school, and he put together a computer system for that would measure out however much seed you needed. Say you needed 5 acres worth or something. Yep. It would measure that out, and it would track the inventory in the boxes. And so you could be out at the end of the auger and just punch in what you needed, and it would deliver.
Did anybody turn that into a product?
We actually took that to John Kinzenbaugh, and Kathy and I and our sons went. Well, at the state fair, they won top prizes with it, and we're paraded champions. And Iowa IPTV came out to the farm and interviewed them, did all that fun stuff. But we took it over to Kinsey, and we went into the office with John Kinzenbaugh, and he says, "Mom, Dad, you go sit over there in the corner. I want to talk to these boys." So he sat down and talked to Brent and Luke, and he really wanted to build the seed tender, but they had to go through all the marketing and figure all that things out. And it didn't turn out to be the right kind of a something for them to build right product. But John liked it, and he talked to Brent and Luke about a ton of things, talked about patent wars and all those kinds of things.
The only man to beat John Deere twice.
Yeah.
Or the only man to beat John Deere.
Right.
But he beat him twice. Yeah.
So he talked about
That'd
those
cool.
wins that lost with Case, so too, and he talked about all those things. And actually, Brent ended up interning with John then between his junior and senior year of college. So he was worked with John in his shop, and the grain cart that's got the angled corners. Anyway, Brent had probably contributed some ideas into the frame on that system.
Wow.
So that was part of Brent's college experience. And then Brent ended up being test engineer for North America for Kloss. So he was out of Omaha and would go with harvesters and choppers and whatever machines they had and prototype equipment. And they were very secretive, so no one knew where they were at. And they had armed guards and everything.
The Germans, they're pretty particular.
Right.
Yeah.
And Brent would, he was out there to make the machines run in the field, was the kind of thing he did. And sometimes the engineers would come up with a new idea, and he'd actually build the first prototype of whatever it was. So that was kind of his job.
Wow. So that's incredible. That's some incredible life experiences for them.
It was.
I mean, you fast forwarded past, you went right from college to kids. We missed a whole section there. I'm assuming one of those tractor dates paid off because you don't have kids without a wife. And
right. And so Kathy and I met in college. She went to the local community college as well. And we both kind of had aspirations to go in Iowa State, but we met there, and probably we both talked about our 1086 tractors.
She had one too.
Farm girl. Yeah. She cultivated, and with her dad, they had front mount cultivators, and he would run the 560. She ran the 1256, and they'd cultivate and do that whole farming thing. And she'd combine and all that stuff.
So you were in love right away then.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Yeah. No, she chased me.
Oh, is that how it worked? Yeah. Okay.
Looking to see if I'm in trouble back here.
Yeah, right. You might be in trouble. That's funny. So when did you decide, obviously we got to talk about this because this is a big deal for farmers. Mm-hmm. Where did this idea come from?
It's something I kind of wanted maybe at some point in the 1980s. I wanted to scale in my inductor to weigh the chemicals.
Why is that important? What makes you think that that's important?
I started spraying when I was 14 years old and had done it a long time. I used to incorporate chemicals ahead of the planter with a Steiger Bearcat tractor and a 25-foot disc, and I could hardly keep ahead of the planter, and 20-acre loads, and I had to be really efficient on loading that thing so I could keep that tractor moving. So that's kind of a whole different discussion of a closed system, maybe perhaps one of the first closed systems ever done, but we had 5-gallon metal cans back in those days, and that went out of style pretty fast. But
for good reason.
I had a closed system for those back in the day. But anyway, I had to be efficient with the spraying, and then we moved on to other spraying and, eventually on to no-till things, but I always did all the spraying for the farm. And I liked accuracy. I didn't like exposure to chemicals, and didn't like the little flow meters for the bulk chemicals, as we moved into that type of thing. And I always wanted to scale on my inductor, and I never got around to doing it, but the idea was always there on how can we do this a little better.
So since the 80s, you were thinking about this.
Oh, yeah. I had a list of things that I wanted to do, build. In the 80s, so we were spraying the contact herbicides for the beans like Bassagran, Blazer, burn the weeds off type things. And my sprayer ended up on the cover of Farm Journal magazine back in the day. So I had built a sprayer with a windshield on it. So we had to use fine particles, and to run in a lot of conditions, I had this windshield that kept that spray on target. And so I was using a lot of pressure and a lot of nozzles and shooting 2 angles, which kind of has turned into a thing in the more recent years.
Yep.
But with that windshield, I could get a really good kill on the weeds. So, because I could paint them top and bottom and,
And
really
that was something you built.
Yeah. So I had a 3-point sprayer, and then it had these windshields on it. It had gauge wheels, so it followed the ground well. But that was.
So you've been an inventor your whole life.
I kind of have been.
How many things are on that list yet that you still have to do?
There's a lot of things that can potentially be done with Mixmate even.
You still have more things you want to do there.
Oh, yeah.
So, we're sitting here, and I'm looking at this, and it's impressive looking, but what does it do?
So we automate chemical mixing, and we use our inductor has a scale built in, so as you pour a jug, it's going to weigh the product. But the really unique thing about that is we've got processes to make the jugs and the dry products fast and easy. So dry products, for instance, we have a couple of modes where there's just water flowing straight through the inductor. And you can dump like whole bags of ammonium sulfate or jugs of a dry chemical, and it just flows through and out to your sprayer. It's a fast way to get a lot of bulk dry in. In that mode, we're only doing whole quantities, so whole bags or jugs. But then we go back to the weighing mode for the odd amounts. So it gives you a really good way to handle those dry, which are difficult.
Right.
And then on the...
so it seems like it'd probably be faster and safer.
Yeah. So we had a company that was actually, their products came from Brazil, so they started as a liquid fertilizer and they dehydrate them. Some of those products and other dry things, when you put them in water, they want to make a big wet lump that's dry on the inside. And that continuous mode will just eat them right up. Well, one of the problems you can have is with dust. And so there's things you can do, like set your water level high, so you're essentially pouring that dry product directly into the water, and you can eliminate most of the dust doing that.
Yeah.
It'll still eat it up.
That's cool.
But
how long did it take you to, were your kids involved in this?
Absolutely. We wouldn't be doing this if it wasn't for them, I'd still be farming. It'd be simple.
Well, you are still farming, but how'd you get the boys involved? Did you guys sit around and be like, all right, here's my idea, let's do it?
That's kind of funny because as we were doing this thing and working on patents and things, we'd be calling the patent attorney, and we'd have some windshield time in the pickup driving, and we're brainstorming all this, and there'd be more things that need to go into the patent. And the patent attorney says one day, it was like, just stop doing that. Let me finish this, because it was kind of funny because we were
You
just
kept changing,
evolving
yeah.
things so quickly. And we were always really good that way, where the brainstorming we'd come up with a ton of ideas. Just back and forth between us. We were really good, interactive, designing something very quickly.
And the boys were working in different companies?
Yes, but even at an earlier age, clear back when they were like before they worked for other companies, that's really when that was more
When
active.
this was starting?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, when we were starting to do the patent process and all that.
When did you patent it?
I don't remember if maybe took a long time there for a while, like 4 years for a patent to happen. Probably in the 2012 time frame.
Okay.
And, it might have been 2016, and then they gave us like 20 or 21 years. They gave us some extra years because it took so long to get it done.
Okay.
So we got some legs under the patent yet.
That's sweet. So do the boys now work full-time on this?
Our older son, Brent, is chief engineer.
Okay.
He does the embedded control, which kind of relates back to when he was at Kloss. He did some embedded control work there. And then Luke, we didn't talk about Luke, but after he graduated, he went to Kuhn, North America, and designed a vertical feed mixer there. So like the biggest one they build for dairies, that was kind of what he got in on. And so
you got to be just sitting here going, man, these kids
Yeah.
of mine, like they took it to a whole nother level.
They
You
did.
went to community college, and not to say that that's not,
I was the wannabe engineer.
right, and they're the
engineers.
actual
Yeah,
engineers.
they got the piece of paper anyway.
Oh, well, I mean, if you have the piece of paper saying you're an engineer, you're an engineer.
Right,
And then if
right.
you're working on stuff like this and working for Kuhn and Kloss, that's it's a pretty big deal. So how has this gone? Like this, it can't be easy. Like, because you're
It's
farming
not
full
easy.
time,
Right.
and you're trying to do this, and you guys are making these yourselves?
So we have companies that mold the plastic parts. We got a company that makes all the stainless parts, so the laser cutting and welding and all that type of thing.
And then you put it all together.
We assemble. Yeah, harnesses. We were building the circuit boards in-house and kind of outgrew that. So we got a company out of Omaha that does circuit boards for us now.
So did you build a shop for this on the farm?
It was in the farm shop, and we quit raising hogs in 2006. So the farrowing house was pretty nice, but part of the farrowing house went from farrowing house to clean room. So that's where, that's unusual,
Yeah.
But went in, epoxied the floors, and there was Y gutters in there. We filled those and epoxied the floors. It didn't smell like hogs at all.
Right.
But it was actually a decent office space, but we outgrew it.
Where are you at now?
Avoca, Iowa. So we were able to lease a building there, a 12,000 square foot building. And so that's where we're at now.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so offices are there,
Yes.
assemblies all
Assembly,
there,
yeah,
warehousing,
engineering.
everything.
Yeah.
Wow, that's a big step. So
Yeah.
you started in 2017?
First sale was in 2017. The first product development started about 2010.
Okay.
So Brent kind of did that in after hours when he was working at Kloss.
So 7 years
Yes.
of development
Yes.
from really prototype to launch.
Production, yeah. We did some shows starting in 2011. So our original design was our stainless inductor, and it has space for valves under the hood, and it could pump a bulk chemical in there and weigh it and then pump it out. Well, that was slow, because you're using that inductor over and over and over, and you're pumping and weighing and pumping and weighing, and it's not as fast as what it really needed. Well, we decided that we need to do something a little different, and that's when we started using the gear meters and putting together the stacks of valves, so manifolding multiple chemicals through the meter. And the fusion design came with that. So about 2 years later, that came out. Well, that gave us the ability to measure, we can have multiple meters in the system. We can measure multiple chemicals simultaneously. Well, then we had speed. So that's what talks to the commercial applicators is speed.
So is that who's your primary, like, who's buying these?
The biggest, we started marketing to farmers.
Yeah.
And we didn't have dealers initially. We did direct sales initially, which helped us understand what the dealers needed to do.
To troubleshoot.
Right. And so our first couple of years were direct sales, probably.
Yep.
And then we started adding dealers and grew from there. So, yeah, we just visited our first customer last week and
Your
had
very
dinner
first
with
one.
them.
Oh, that's cool. Where are they at?
Western Kansas. So we were at the drone conference last week, and so we go from little making batches for drones all the way to loading out semi-tankers. So the variety.
Do you have a drone mix mate, or is it all the same mix mate?
It's the same because you're handling the same amount of chemicals. You're just not handling as much water. So we typically will use the same equipment with a 2-inch flow meter on the water side.
Okay.
So.
And drones are a big part of the future of spraying.
Absolutely. They're really, and we use one on our farm.
Oh, really?
Yes.
And do you find, because one of the things, I guess, from the out, like, I'm in planters and I'm in combines. I am not in sprayers at all. So one of the things I always wonder is, like, the whole idea to a drone is you're maybe eliminating labor, but I don't think you are, because somebody's flying the drone.
Job.
Yeah.
It's hard work. You're out there in the weather and you're loading that thing constantly, but you can get real work done with them too.
Do you think that drones will eventually replace big sprayers?
Absolutely.
Yeah. You think everything will be done with the drone?
Yeah. Well, not airborne necessarily, ground rigs and all.
Yeah.
You know, we have automation now. Autonomy is a whole nother level. So you think about, if you're going to put an autonomous tractor out in the field, what does the operator do besides drive the tractor, which by and large you have auto steer these days? You're watching to see if that implement plugs up. You're watching to see if everything's operating as it's supposed to be. That's autonomy. So when you can automate those things so that you can send that machine out there and trust that everything's going to work smoothly, it's going to, something plugs up, it's going to detect that and deal with it. That's what autonomy is. So, we have automation now. Autonomy is a whole nother level of automation.
So I can see the need for autonomy in North America, but we were talking about Brazil and some of these different places.
Labor's cheap.
$300 a month.
Yeah.
$300 a month, you have a farm worker. Like, I was on a whole bunch of farms over there, and there's so many workers. I don't think autonomy is going to be a big deal over there. So are you able, like, I know we talked, you're wanting to go global with this, obviously. So are you designing a model to work with autonomous? It will also work there?
That will come down the road.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
So what's the future hold for Praxidyn?
We're going to be expanding into additional countries. We've got some systems in Russia and Ukraine, and then they started a war, and that kind of blew up the market,
Literally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And systems in Canada. There's a little bit in Australia now.
Yeah.
Looking to go to Brazil. And so those countries we're working in that direction.
What about new products? Do you have new products, or can you even talk about that?
Kinda.
Yeah. Not in details. Yeah.
Right. The big things that are happening are software. So that's never ending. Software in the systems is always evolving, and we're launching. Well, the initial software, we didn't really talk about that, but we had 5 people writing code for at least 2 years.
For the software of this.
Yeah, it's a big deal. It's expensive. It's like hiring lawyers, And
nothing's as expensive as hiring lawyers.
Yeah, well, it adds up kind of like that.
Yeah.
You can spend a lot of money on software in a hurry. Well, that first round of software got replaced a couple of years ago. And so with an all new platform and all, so just to give it more legs in the future.
Yeah.
So anyway, so we're getting more and more into stationary plants, legal for trade systems, like our local co-ops just built a whole new facility.
Is it the same system?
It is. Yeah, so our stainless version is NTEP, we can do NTEP certified components, so legal for trade, connect to the mass meters, which is legal for trade type meters. And so, we had to go through the certification process for that, where they tested our electronics and software all has to meet specifications for that. So we've been through all that process.
So that's kind of cool that you are not only, using the products in big retailers, but also, farmers running drones and farmers running ground units. And
right.
So really the market is quite large for this. There's a lot of different potential channels.
Definitely. So we've got lawn care companies, so little trucks that run around town and, weed and feed yards and lawn care. We've got a number of those out there using the system. And
what's the biggest challenge?
Oh, boy. Perhaps running a company and getting it all going. That's not been an easy thing necessarily. Learned a lot. We got some really great people helping now, so that's actually helped. So Kathy and I can back down just a little bit and not be in there and doing all the day-to-day stuff. So we appreciate that. And so we have been kind of the face for Mixed Mate, and not as young as I used to be. But anyway, so people know us. We got a lot of contacts in the industry, but bringing these younger guys up, and we've really got good people. So that's awesome.
Are both of your sons going to be in it someday?
No. So our older son is chief engineer. Our younger son is managing the farm.
Okay, so he's taken over the farm, and your older son is taken over, as the chief engineer. So will he run the company someday, or is he going to stay on the engineering?
He may. Yeah. His heart probably really is in the engineering, but as the company grows, I hope we can hire more engineers and he can jump on new product development, which is really where he likes to be.
Yeah.
So
I would imagine the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. It sounds like you probably would like to be involved in new products.
Right. I always thought that a title for me eventually would be fellow, where you kind of just get free rein to do your stuff, I always thought that would be good. So.
Well, maybe. So let me ask you this. I asked you where the future of Praxidyn was going. What about the future for you? Like, what are some of the things you want to still do?
Yeah, a little travel would be kind of fun, and so that kind of business kind of taking us around the world on that potentially, and so that would be fun. And got grandkids. I want to spend maybe a little more time with the farm type thing, and watch those kids grow up, and maybe a little less time on the day-to-day stuff with Praxidyn. So we'll see where it goes.
One of the things I thought was cool, and I'm going to grab one of these here. Oh, knocking stuff over. But obviously, your faith is important to you.
Absolutely.
And I think that that's something that maybe doesn't get talked a lot about. How has your faith played into, you've got a Bible verse on your card. So every card you give out, you've got Proverbs 3:6. Why is your faith important to you, and why that verse?
So this verse, in everything you do, put God first, and he will direct you and crown your efforts with success. So I don't think we would have made it without that faith. I don't think we would be here today without that faith, because starting up a business is hard. We've self-funded it, and like we talked about, hiring all the programmers and things, kind of got out of money at one point there, Wonder if you can make the next payroll. That gets tough. And then along comes that customer, that, okay, we're going again, things like that. But I don't think we would have made it without that faith. And it just makes life enjoyable too, because we're here to serve. And this is a dirty job. This chemical mixing is a dirty job. And I'm really thankful I think about our grandkids, our son and our grandkids, and the safety, not getting that exposure to chemicals. One of my first memories of spraying was my dad stirring up 5-pound bags of wettable atrazine in a 5-gallon bucket with his bare arm, sticking his arm down in there and stirring that stuff up. My dad has Parkinson's, and you kind of wonder if that exposure ultimately has led to some of these things guys suffer with. Yeah.
There's probably no doubt that, I don't think it's a coincidence that some of the heavily farmed areas are some of the areas that have some of the toughest diseases that we face as humans.
Right.
It's certainly no different where I currently live. Big farming area, and there's been a lot of people that have died too young from different cancers, et cetera, and you just don't know.
Yeah, we stopped at one of our aerial applicator customers one summer, and his crew came out and met us, kind of circled around us, the ground crew, and they're showing us their arms and their faces, and look, we're not burned. And Kathy and I are like, why would you be burned? We don't understand. It was the exposure to the insecticides that they had been suffering, and with mixed mate, they were using bulk insecticides that was in a closed system, so they didn't even get exposed to the vapor. Yeah. And it was a big deal for them.
And that wasn't necessarily why you invented this.
No, but it was always part of it.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
So there's a couple questions that I always ask everybody that's on here. The faith one that's a bonus. That's cool. But the two questions I always ask, and it was weird because I've kind of changed this question a little bit. When I started, I called this AgWarriors. So the whole definition of a warrior is like somebody going to war. So originally I was asking the question about if you were going to war, what would be your weapon of choice? So all the early guests were like, wow, a sickle, Rob Sharkey was a shotgun of some sort. Like, there's all these different ones.
Sure.
And then I've kind of changed it because I had some people, a Ukrainian they're actually in war, and
so
I felt like,
drones or something nowadays.
Well, and I can't remember what Dimitri's was. I think it was tenacity. It was tenacity. But I've changed it to like, what is the thing that you feel like when you're in tough, what's the thing that you feel is like, this is what's going to get me through this. This is what I have that I know I'll be okay.
Yeah.
What's your weapon of choice?
So as you're saying that, and I'm looking down here at my business card, people think Christians are maybe passive. Christians are strong. They're warriors. It gives you the grit to go forward and keep working and pushing forward, And so my faith, totally, that's my weapon of choice. It gives me the strength to push on.
I had a feeling you might go there. It's kind of funny and I don't know everybody that I have on. I kind of learn about them as we go, but as we were going, I was thinking you might go faith-based or Bible or something like that, so that's cool. The second question I ask, and you've obviously been on a crazy journey, so I'm not going to assume your age. We're going to say somewhere around 50. We'll just go there. Okay. But what would current day Doug tell 20-year-old Doug as like, look, this is all things are going to happen, but this is the lesson, or this is the lesson, or what do you wish that 20-year-old Doug would know that maybe he didn't know?
Yeah, so we went through the 1980s in farming. It was rough.
Yeah.
We got down to a point there where you have to make money this year or you're not farming next year, And so that was tough, and after that period, I was afraid to do things. I was afraid to maybe borrow money. I was afraid to take chances. And probably what I would tell my 20-year-old self is, don't let that experience stifle you. Go ahead. And honestly, it took me a period of time to get over that fear of pushing forward and doing new things. Kind of maybe until we really got to going, well, probably before that, but I would have never started this other company with that kind of an attitude.
Right. Yeah, of course not. This is hard.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's good. And I mean, that, as you were talking about that and the 80s and not sure if you're going to farm the next year, man, we're in a tough spot right now as in agriculture. And there's a lot of farmers, like we're seeing it everywhere, that are in tough. I think I mean, those words, that advice rings really true right now, is don't let what's happening right now scare you or stop you from taking advantage of an opportunity when it comes.
Yeah, it's hard. It is, but we lived through it and it made us stronger.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, and I think we will get through this. I mean, it's a crazy time out there right now in the world. I've been blessed to fly around. I've been all over the world in the last little bit. And I think the one thing that gives me hope is there's good people out there.
Oh, yeah.
And I think that I was sharing with you before, I've been really blessed that a lot of those good people will keep finding their way to me.
And it's finding those people to go to maybe that next market.
Yeah.
You know, finding the right people is a big deal.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. It's really important who you do business with. But man, what did I not ask you? That's maybe a question. What is something I didn't ask you that is really cool about your story, about your company?
Oh boy.
I mean, did we not talk about, we talked about Kathy. She's coming in here.
Yeah, she says we don't say can't. So as our boys were growing up, yeah. So it was like, we told our boys, don't say the word can't. Don't say, I can't do that. Let's figure out how you can. Or, yes, you can't maybe do it this way, but let's figure out how we can get this done.
So can't doesn't exist in your vocabulary.
Really doesn't. Failure's not an option, you know.
Figure it out.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It was with Elizabeth from Praxidyn, which is a really cool company on its own. They're amazing people, but she said, the harder you work, the luckier you get.
Yeah.
And I thought that was a pretty cool one. And you just don't give up. Failure's not an option. That's also, that's great.
Yeah. You got to have the grit to push through.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes when it's tough, you can't quit.
Yeah.
You know, if you quit, you fail.
100%. And failure is not an option.
Right.
I mean, I don't know how many people you have working for you, but I've got 26 here and 5 in Brazil. Failures, I mean, you can't fail.
You're committed.
Yeah.
You got to keep going forward.
All in.
You know, fish, like Rob Sharkey would say, fish don't swim backwards.
Fish do not swim backwards. Well, I appreciate it. This was cool. It was cool getting to know you beforehand, and now recording this, and I'll definitely be watching and seeing how this goes
progresses.
For you.
Yeah, it's fun. It's interesting where life leads us, no doubt.
And the people you run into.
Yeah.
And now you've done your first podcast, so you are ready to be everywhere.
I'm primed.
Let's go.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. Hey, everyone. Thanks for tuning in to the Ag Warriors podcast, brought to you by Thunderstruck Ag.